Hello! Welcome to the Salty and Sweet Podcast. My name's Jen.
My name's George.
And this is a debate-style podcast where myself and George bring topics to debate about. I bring a topic that he hates that I like, and he brings a topic that I hate that he likes. And we have to tell each other why, without saying, fuck you, it just sucks because it does, or anything else like that. We have to put words to our emotions. And we have a coin flip at the beginning to see who goes first. I'm going to flip it heads or tails, George.
Tails never fails.
All right. Wow, we got tails again. All right, you go first.
All right. So, my topic is going to kind of be relevant to both of us.
Okay.
It is something that we're both pretty intimately aware of, and we know how it works, and it's something that we are active in constantly.
Okay.
It is related to D&D.
Ah.
We're going to be talking about the Paladin.
Fuck! I could just go off right now and say Paladins break games. Paladins are so overpowered that the only way that they are not overpowered is through roleplay, and if the player decides that they do not want to be overpowered, so they give themselves a quirk or something of the like. There is no way of making a paladin that is not too strong. Paladins, especially if they crit, or if you're like me, we have our homebrew rule that if you get a crit, it's max damage times 2, and so cool, you crit, that thing is not just dead but obliterated, because smiting, you could just do it. You could just decide to do it even if you haven't seen if you hit yet. And I feel like if that simple change was made, if you called a smite before, it could be a little bit better. I just think that paladins are too strong. They are very interesting, but also I have negative experiences with being a dungeon master at a table of individuals who play paladins, and every single time they have been power gaming pieces of shit. So I just have a hard time looking at Paladin, the class, and thinking, that's going to be a fun thing to dungeon master. And even recently, given that I have the option to multi-class into Paladin, because of things that have been happening in our Tuesday games over on Architect Lum, I have been so incredibly hesitant. Because I've even built out a little character sheet that is simulating what I would look like if I was a paladin, how far I would go, what I would want. And the only thing I was thinking while making this was, holy shit, I would be unstoppable. And I just don't like that. That's not the kind of play that I like. I like when there's problems. I like when there's things to stumble on. I like when you give yourself quirks, or that you aren't just perfect, and I feel like paladins are perfect. As well, second point, without letting you talk first.
That is not your second point.
I have another point to make.
You have made 17 points, but please, go on to your second point.
I think that paladins are pointless in a group game. I think paladins can do basically everything, so why should they be in a group?
So, your 2 points.
My 2 points. My one.
That, paladins are overtuned and paladins are overtuned.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So, you said so many things that it is actually not possible for me to touch on all of them, because you could try.
I just went off.
A whole
sorry, I was having a time.
And argument with yourself.
I was. I hate paladins.
You think that paladins are overtuned?
I do.
What portion of them do you feel is overtuned? Their damage, their defense, their utility, and how does that differ from wizards being overtuned? And also, do you think that they're overtuned the whole time, or at a certain level range? Because
okay,
I would
good
say
points.
most classes really come online for a 3 to 5 level range, and that's where they're like strongest in the party dynamic in the campaign, etc.
Sure. And
But
I think once paladins unlock smiting, which is like what, level 2 or 3,
level 2, I believe.
they're they're then strong. They are then they put out too much damage. They can defend themselves, especially if you get to the 4 and 8 and you get these specific feats. If your DM allows feats, you could just be unstoppable.
So I would posit the argument that if you are taking a feat at level 8, then your character probably does not have their main stat maxed, which would be charisma on a blessed warrior build or strength on a normal paladin. Um, and if they are taking a feat, I don't think the feat is going to benefit them as much as the ASI would have.
Yeah.
But that's a case by case basis, and depends on what subclass you're playing, what the goal is with the character.
Yeah.
But like, I just don't see paladins as being more overtuned than clerics or barbarians or especially wizards.
Sure.
I'm gonna say especially clerics and wizards.
Okay, so I also have a similar issue with clerics, and I'll preface by talking about your wizard comment. You said, what makes wizards not overtuned? So, wizards rely on magic. Barbarians rely on strength. Paladins have both. Clerics have both. I just have more of an issue with paladins because of smiting specifically, but other than that, I don't like the idea of double dipping. Because at the end of the day, it makes you...
What do you mean double dipping?
Into magic and... Unless you're multi-classing, of course, but magic and strength. It's just like, do you have to do everything that the party can already do? Or do you want to just kill everything before we even get there? You can attack things that are far away. You can attack things that are close up. You have no... Like, there's literally nothing.
Smite is a single target ability.
Yes.
An attack is a single target ability. You can only, like, you can put that smite on an attack. So, I don't know how someone being able to use a sword and being able to also use spells means that they kill everything. Especially given that I was very vague and I said paladin and I said cleric. I didn't say any subclasses. Like, I don't think that there is any I don't think that there is a subclass in either paladin or cleric that specifically does super well in both melee combat and as a control caster.
Sure.
Cleric, obviously they could use spirit guardians, that's an amazing AoE magic spell, but they only get one attack per turn, so they will never, unless they're battle domain cleric, then they can use their channel divinity to take a second swing as a bonus action, if I remember correctly. But paladin doesn't really have a whole lot of like AoE damaging spells. Not that I can think of right offhand. I haven't played a paladin to high levels, so I can't say that for sure. I know that I think it's Oathbreaker gets like an AoE fear ability, but I really can't think of like damage that's AoE. So sorry, I got a little hung up on the implication that if someone can wield sword and can cast spell, then they kill everything. And
I mean, sure, I'm being dramatic, but at the end of the day, you can look on any D&D site or any review site of 5th edition, and they will say that paladins are the strongest characters that you can pick. They are the single most best for solo. Like, you could do everything as a paladin, and I don't like that. What's the point of having them in the party if they could just do everything themselves?
How is that different than wizard, though? Because wizard can do everything themselves too, depending on how you build. Like,
but wizards are generally very weak. in general,
but
physically.
they don't have to be.
They don't have to be. You're right, but they
They
are
they
generally very
like
weak.
you can have an Eldritch Knight fighter slash wizard that can do everything, but that's getting into multi-classing. But you could also have Blade Singer, and you could have typically you would go Dex and Intelligence. There isn't really a subclass that benefits from being strength in, so you kind of would have to multi-class. I there's just like a wizard has so many like exponentially more utility and so many more things that they can do, and that's one of your favorite classes. Like
Mm-hmm.
the wizard is the Batman of everything. Like
Yeah.
they like Batman Wizard was like kind of a build, kind of a meme in 3.5.
Interesting.
And it's just that they have the solution to everything. Like even if people go before them in initiative, they could rearrange initiative order.
Yeah.
Like a paladin, like they are like a single target, like striker off tank with a little bit of healing, but they are also a third caster, if I remember correctly, so they
Mm-hmm.
don't get very many spells. They if they're going straight paladin, like they get, I think it's like 5 points of healing for lay on hands per level, and like they have a little they have a little bit of everything. They
Yeah.
kind of like, I don't know, they bridge the gap for other classes, and then they've also got their auras. So like, yes, it's very strong to have one, but I would say that's probably the class that I've seen the least in parties.
Mm-hmm.
Uh Along with cleric. Like I feel like the holy casters, despite being, or the holy characters being very strong, people still kind of avoid them. Um I don't know. I don't I do understand that there can be a lot of issues with paladins and like people power gaming taking a caster class multi-class into a paladin,
Yeah.
like, and having all of those spell slots that they're basically only using for smiting. Like yeah, that's shitty, but I just don't see how that's different than like an evocation wizard, or like, you know,
Yeah. Sure.
if they are building a character that is just doing damage, then I don't know,
I
like
mean,
why be upset with them for doing damage? Like
I'm
that's the
upset.
character
I'm
fantasy they
upset
want.
mostly with the D&D rules changing with paladins. Like paladins are generally a mix of fighter and cleric. They get the best of both worlds, and they at the end of most battles that are deadly in nature, they will be the ones standing, or they will be the reason that their entire party is still living. But my issue really is that in old D&D rules, if a paladin, it was extremely restricted because a paladin had to be lawful good and they had to do things for good, otherwise they cannot use their powers. 5e
Mhm.
completely threw that out, and now they are
I
powerhouses because they could do anything that they want. And
I
it's
would like to posit a counterpoint to that before you
okay.
get too deep into this point.
Mhm. Mhm.
This might come off as a little salty or a little rude,
Oh,
but who cares?
you're right.
Really, like truly, like
Yeah.
all of the rules are arbitrary. Like
Yeah.
we know that going into D&D. Like we play 2 games that have a very decent amount of home, 3 games
Yeah.
that have a lot of homebrew in them.
Right.
Like we throw out rules that I don't think help facilitate fun, and we do that constantly. We do that intentionally on
Mhm.
purpose. Like to be a bard in first or second edition, you had to have some levels of fighter, you had to have some levels of monk, you had to
Yeah.
have levels of cleric, of druid, or one or the other. Like you had to have like 4 or 5 different specific like level amounts, and it's so stupid and arbitrary, but that's the system that existed back then.
Right.
I don't I don't think that paladins being tied to alignment
Mm-hmm.
truly has that much impact. I have seen more power gamers that were lawful good
Mm-hmm.
than any other class other than, like, actually no, I would say it's even with
Mm-hmm.
lawful good and chaotic neutral. Like, those are the two for power gamers that I've seen. And yeah, I just
I totally get what you mean by who cares. And at the end of the day, it's one of those things, it's up to the DM's discretion. It's up to how you like to play the game. And as I said at the very beginning, it bothers me. It's not fun to DM someone who is playing a paladin and is a power gamer. Fucking hate that shit. It's not fun to have to
well,
sit there and be like, "All right, time to make puzzle pieces," because everything that they possibly do is going to be too hard for me to DM.
it sounds to me like you have more of an issue with the power gamer that doesn't care about the DM's designs than you do
Sure,
with the paladin class.
but to
But
rebuttal
all
that, there D&D in general, it's hard to make a paladin that is not overpowered, because even with like
no,
the skill sets of the races, like variant humans, dragonborns, half elves, Aasimar, Kalashtar, all of them have some sort of race feature that boosts the paladin. So it's just I
no,
hate them.
they have racial features that boost everyone. That is how racial features work. But
You're not
like,
wrong, but it's like the little cherry on top for the paladin to be like, I can be whatever I want, and I can be wonderful, and I just
but
don't like
every
it.
class can be broken. Like paladin in particular, like needs 3 stats
Mm-hmm.
to be strong. Like they have to have strength over 15 so that they can have heavy armor and they don't take that um the you know movement speed debuff, uh the heavy armor movement penalty. um they have to have con so that they can be in front lines, but they also have to have charisma so that they can have a decent spellcasting modifier. The last one is kind of optional. You could just be a smite house and you could only use strength and con and then smite, which is possible and I've seen people do it. But even so, if you are looking to get 2 stats to 20 and 18 or even 20 and 16, if you're using standard array, like that's going to be a decent amount of investment, and then they're going to be strong
Mm-hmm.
at hitting things. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with letting the person who invested their resources in hitting things be good at hitting things. Like
Like I guess,
there are
and
just
I
there are
can,
ways to break every single class.
yeah,
And you can break this game so many ways. It's just like I just think that you are focusing on so many very interesting like little parts
yeah,
of the paladin. But you made some very like inflammatory statements like every paladin is broken. Like
they
every
are.
paladin's
Even
no, they're
if
not.
you are
No,
not trying
there
to
are
be
so many that are
broken,
ass.
you are broken.
No.
Paladins are broken, and I don't
No.
like them.
No, you don't like 5 levels of paladin, 15 levels of bard, and spending. See, honestly, the issue in multi-classing with paladin
Mm,
is less so paladin and more so full casters, specifically bard, because bard is ridiculous with their utility. Like the
true.
fact that both of those classes, like you have a class that has magical secrets, so they can get stuff from, like you could be running wizard spells on a paladin, is insane to me. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely insane to me. But yeah, no. Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yes and
I
no.
ultimately it falls down to the fact that I am upset with my experience with DMing for people who play paladins. Sure. But I have many reasons also why I don't like paladins. And I do understand you saying all of the things that you've said, but I still say, fuck them. It's my turn. So, the topic I have for you is Stardew Valley. I would like to know wholeheartedly why you do not like Stardew Valley. Give me all the reasons. From my experience, you've played the game once on stream and you were upset that people were telling you what to do, so you gave up. That's my view. What's yours?
I don't like being told how to play a video game. I don't like being told how to do anything. I'm a brat.
That's true.
But yeah, I just, even if I'm intending to do something, if someone tells me to do it, I don't know if you've ever seen the meme of the person like, well, now I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
That's me. I don't want to do a thing, like, even if my intent was clear and I was like, I'm gonna do this thing and I want to. Almost all of my willpower to do it is sucked dry as soon as somebody tells me to.
That's fair. But I
And
think
people came in
yeah.
and they told me how to run my farm.
Mm-hmm.
They told me how to play the game. They told me what I should be doing right now. And that right there is arguably one of the most dangerous things to someone's enjoyment of a video game.
I agree with that for sure.
How they should play the game.
Yeah.
And I think that if you are trying to help a friend who is getting, like, they don't know how to play Dark Souls and
sure.
they are trying to just like hard block every single thing in the game and they're not treating it like it's stamina management, it's okay to be like, hey, you might want to try dodging. Not trying to tell you how to play the game,
right,
but it will make your experience a lot easier. This game wasn't designed for that kind of gameplay. I think that is very different than, oh my god, you have to go into town and you have to sell your fucking potato plants so that you could get lychee seeds, and then you can give those to Harvey under the full fucking moon while you drink goat's blood so that you can marry Christine. And like, people just come in and the first thing that they do is like, who are you romancing and why?
It's true. That is true. If you play Stardew Valley on Twitch, that is exactly what happens. They want to know who you're romancing.
I don't even know who these people are yet.
Yeah.
And people, like, first thing was, who are you romancing? And then it was, like, instantly like, no, stop doing that. Why are you doing this? Like, I'm trying to clear my farm right now.
That's
just
what
so
I want to
can
do.
Use it.
Yeah.
And, like, I spent, every time that I've played Stardew Valley, that's how I start the game.
Yeah.
I clear out all the shit because, like, it just makes sense to like have everything cleared, so I don't have to do it little by little later on. I have a limited amount of space. There's no point in not clearing it, to me. Like,
sure.
It is the way that my brain works. I imagine it has to do with like my ADHD brain, but you've seen the way that I eat. I eat one thing at a time typically, and like I work my way around the plate. It's something that my grandparents used to be like, oh, don't you like the mashed potatoes? I'm like, I haven't gotten there yet. I'm still eating the broccoli, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I feel you.
And
I feel you on that, at least.
It's just, I want to enjoy and experience the game in a way that I set out to do.
Okay.
Like, so much of it is I want it to line up with my expectations of the game, and I want it to be a certain thing, I guess. And like, people coming in and telling me to do this so that I could unlock that, I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to go and farm out fishing or whatever. Like, I don't know. I can enjoy those sandboxy games so much if I just get to sit there and I can find a thing that I enjoy and do that thing.
Yeah. And I think that that's what Stardew Valley really does well, is they make grinding whatever you want to grind enjoyable. It's one of those games that is, well, first off, it's like the number one chill game ever, and it's creative, but it's also compelling. And like, if you choose to go down these storylines, they wait for you. Some of them don't, but they wait for you. So, like, if you decide to spend an entire year in game doing only fishing, you can still go and talk to the homeless person and get his storyline if you want to. The game doesn't have an end. It has technically a 4-year end for the main plot that happens, but you can keep playing afterwards. And it just, there's a lot of like really amazing characters that have very good stories, and you don't have to, you don't even have to talk to them. You do not have to talk to a single person throughout the entire game, and you can still beat it. You don't have to touch the dungeon one time and you can still beat it. You don't have to go fishing. You don't even have to farm and you can still beat the game. It's what you want to do. And I really, really enjoy that about Stardew Valley. And I feel bad that you have the one experience that I've seen where you're hung up on being told what to do that you don't even want to play it anymore, because it's one of my favorite games and I got sucked into it because it is one of those games. It's sandboxy, it's farming, and you also can just choose what you want to do. Yeah, sure, there's all these different specific things that you have to do to get these specific events, and kissing and drinking blood and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not a thing, but there's all these specific things you have to do to get certain cutscenes, but you don't have to do them. You don't have to do them. You don't have to talk to anybody. You can. I spent a playthrough talking to one single person the entire game, and I also spent a playthrough talking to every single person every day of the game. It's just how you want to play the game. I also spent time fishing, or I have brought on my friends to do the things that I don't like doing. I have a friend who has played on my little map and does all the fishing and has completed all of the fishing for the entire game because I don't like doing it and they do. So they just log in, go fishing, log out. We don't have to touch it. I don't have to touch it. And I've had friends who enjoy doing, like, making wines and beers and things like that. And you have to do certain things to get there, and they went and did that. You can also raise animals. You don't have to do any of those things. You can 100% make all of your money off parsnips if you really want to. But it's one of those things that you get to create it. And I love that. And I would love to play the game with you, even if it meant that I had to say absolutely nothing about what you were doing.
It did not feel like I got to create it, because like as soon as people came in and started influencing my decisions, I did not feel free to play the game in any way.
Yeah.
Because whether I was doing it because of them or in spite of them, it was related to them. So
yeah.
It was no longer fulfilling my needs for enjoyment, I suppose. Also, the fact that it is a middle ground between Terraria and like Minecraft and Harvest Moon kind of set it up for failure.
Why do you think that?
For me.
For you?
Because I love Minecraft and Terraria a lot. I think that they're both amazing games. I really wanted to play Harvest Moon when I was younger. I didn't have an opportunity to.
Played that shit every day.
There were a lot of Nintendo games are expensive.
True, can confirm.
So I didn't get to try so many Nintendo games because they just didn't go on sale. So.
Do you think that you will give Stardew Valley another shot playing solo or playing with me off Twitch?
Maybe. I don't know. I have owned that game since it came out.
Same.
And here, let me navigate to my library here. Look at my playtime, because I think it's probably under 2 hours. 3.6 hours, and I'm very confident that a large portion of that was spent AFK.
Let's see how much hours I have in Stardew. I have 160 hours in Stardew Valley right now.
That's not too bad.
It's not too bad, and I still haven't beat the game. Well, I have and definitely could. I just get stuck on certain things and get really interested in doing things and don't progress the game. But that's just how it is, and you have the freedom to do that. And I
Mhm.
feel like I've made some headway on Stardew Valley with you at this podcast day.
I I really truly don't.
Damn it. Thanks for listening, everyone. My name's Jen. You can find me at jenisonline everywhere you could possibly think of.
And I'm George. You can find me at georgewambush everywhere. I'm salty.
I'm sweet, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.